This meeting will now be called to order. As you are willing and able, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. We start, as we always do, with our opportunity for public comment. We have had no one sign up to deliver public comment tonight, so we'll move directly into the report of the secretary. May I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, September 21st, 2022.
A second.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
I just have two little things I thought. Just two. This looks so good.
Yeah, I think so.
On page 2, second to the last little paragraph, Mr. Cowerly also reviewed the current the second the could be taken out, I think.
Yes. Yep.
And there's just one other little one on the very last page of the actual note minutes. MMS, last paragraph, Mr. Creech could take out reported. Mr. Creech provided information on the MMS advisory program.
Yeah. Good catch.
That's all I have.
Yeah, this was both well done, and
So get rid of
it's trending back
provided.
toward,
Just cross off because it's doubled up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
reported, we can get rid of it.
Yes.
As provided, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
provided
Just
is-
make sure I have
is-
that.
Take out reported.
Yep, sorry.
it's trending back toward more of a summary of
Yeah.
the topics, and I think that's the right direction to go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agree.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That's 5-0. Thank you. That brings us to the report of the chair. I have only the one item, which is that our next town officials meeting will be on October 12th. That's a week from today at the Elliott Town Hall. 8:30, I believe, is the start time.
That's correct.
And there will be a Zoom link provided. As I have done in the past, I will coordinate to ensure that we only have 3 of us there.
Just for clarity, if you don't mind me.
Please.
Is that the town of Elliott will create the agenda and send out the agenda to everybody. That's who's hosting the meeting, they're responsible for that portion
Yep.
of that. So that will be up to the town of Elliott, so.
Okay, so we'll look for that.
Yes.
Good.
I could say that I will not be one to
Okay.
attend that one.
Yep,
So
okay.
that frees up whoever else wants to look.
All right, we can coordinate via text. Thank you. That brings us to the report of the superintendent.
Wonderful, thank
Sure.
you very much.
Thank you.
This being the first meeting in October, I wanted to do just a quick enrollment comparison, just so we talked about this the first day of school, or the first meeting of September, which was not the first day of school. This may change slightly, but Ryan has put this together for us this afternoon. Ryan, do you just want to explain what we have?
Good evening. I just provided everybody a chart. Basically, the blue bars are showing the first day of school that was reported at the first meeting in September. The green bar is yesterday's actual enrollment, and then the red bar or pink bar is last October 1's enrollment, so October 2021. So just kind of showing you what the enrollment changes are. Basically, the increase in Elliott and Central is reflected with the same exact decrease in Great Works and Middle School. So the overall decrease between the first day of school reported enrollment and the October 4 enrollment is minus 15 students. Those are reflected at the high school. As Mr. Caverly said, we expect those numbers probably are going to trend a little bit more down, just based on we caught all the students that are now here, but there's still students that, they may be being reported absent. We're going to go through and parse through those lists and make sure that all those students, and we work with other schools to make sure, like, if a student is transferred to a different school.
So my goal would be is that at the next meeting in October, we'll have the finalized numbers. And what I'd like to do is, once we have those finalized numbers, compare them to our estimated enrollments that we use for budgeting process, just to kind of see how close we are, because I just think that's really important as we kind of look at that to make sure our numbers are concise and accurate as we start to build the budget. We've been pretty good in the past, so I just want to make sure that you can see kind of the process that we go through as we start to go into that budget season. after the December break.
Great.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
After a long overdue welcome, Linda Greer has been doing some fantastic work with our adult education program. And just a reminder that that's a shared position between the KU School Department and MSAD 35. So Linda's going to kind of give us a snapshot of all the wonderful things that are happening.
David was even helping me today know how to pass from my own dog. And I need to go over the microphone, I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There it is. So, I am really excited to actually be here and be presenting this PowerPoint that Jen Marcus, my program coordinator, helped me put together. And on the cover, that is actually the cover of our brochure, which I've handed out one of our brochures. And there's a copy of the PowerPoint in there if you want to just make notes. So this is the first brochure since I joined, summer of 19, so that's how long I've been here with you. Some of you were approving my coming onto the program, and here I am. So this is the first time in a brochure that I was able to actually get pictures on of our graduates. Okay, so I say our because this is a combined brochure with Kittery and Marshwood. We split the cost of printing and all of those things, and it works really well. So both of these students, Tracy and Jonathan, both attended classes both at Marshwood and Kittery. So that's a way we get to extend our offering to students, is they may enroll in kind of both places in order to cover. We do 2 nights here, Kittery does 2 nights, and we split it out. And then the bottom one is a CPR class that we ran here in this room, which is infant and adult and ADD CPR course. And those are our 2 staff members. So that's Rita Pender, who teaches English Language Arts and Social Studies for us, and Marcy Dion, our advisor. So just that's the community learning together is a theme that got developed in our brochures. I think I did it on the COVID year, and it was like, yeah, we are community learning together. So we serve the community in 4 basic areas. You'll see those tied to our budget when I come around at budget season. So there's the community education and enrichment, literacy, high school completion, and the workforce. And I'll get into each of those programs later. But this particular picture is of Kate Points, who's the newly appointed York County person who is doing navigation. That's part of grant funding that came across. And this is Kate and I representing adult ed at the Marshwood High School College and Community Fair. So we were actually letting students know that after high school graduation, we're available to support them with possibly career path certifications and also studying for some specialized exams like ASVAB and other things that they might choose in their career paths. So I intentionally asked to be put beside YCC. And I did that for 2 reasons. One, we will be in York County Hub for adult ed programs hiring a coordinator that will actually be at York County, who will be doing adult basic education skills gap. Should students at York County need help, they can get them back out to the adult ed programs in their community or serve them there. And we were actually able to have a student last year with a new program take a York County Community College course, and they can do that through the adult ed program if they're enrolled with us. So that's, lifelong learning. That's what we're working on. That's an overview. And as John already mentioned, there is a shared role, so I just wanted to break out, how many staff are actually running this program. So I'm a 60% director, the advisor is 60, and Jen, our program coordinator, is a 0.75. And then all of our other teaching staff are all part-time, working, 9 to 10 hours a week in total between all subjects, depending on what the students need. And our community enrichment, that's a picture of the running group that went last fall, I think it was last fall. And the running program really attracted people of all levels, and it was a good program. You could see them working, and that's our office. I don't know if you go out back, you actually, that is, there's a sign up there that is our office, and we are grateful for the paved parking lot. It was a muddy, wet hole the year I arrived, and it is wonderful. Our students really, really enjoy that now. And literacy would be the next. So literacy for us is broken down into multiple categories of the reading, writing, speaking, numerical, and digital technology. So we assess students when they come in to see if they have any gaps in these areas, and we have specific programs for that. These skills are, they're fundamental for their certifications and future career opportunities. This is the high school crew that were willing to step into the pictures. There were others that graduated that chose not to get dressed up and come and be here with us, but they were a proud bunch, and it was a real mix of both the high school diploma seekers from a Marshford High School diploma and the high sets. So I have numbers and statistics on all of this. I just kind of want to run through the whole program, and then you guys can ask me what you're really curious about, because tonight wasn't really about numbers for me. It was about maybe trying to tell you some stories about these people. So Jonathan is in this picture. On page 5 inside the program brochure, you'll see 3 stories about our students that were on the cover. But I don't want to give you the spoiler, but you can get done. We're seeing a real increase in our workforce participation. So many of the grants that are coming out now are allowing for courses to be paid for by other grants and agencies, and it's a part of the labor market, that they're out there. People are coming to us for professional certifications, their resume writing, career explorations. We've been doing the partnership with Woodford's behavioral health professionals, which has helped some of our ed techs actually get certification that they need for special ed, for particular kiddos that they're working with. And they just shifted it so when people register for that with us, they're not even going to need to pay the $25 registration fee, but we'll help them get registered, and then Woodford's will reimburse us for the effort of all the registration and all of that. North Star Digital Literacy has been a program that many folks have come in and they've built their confidence around use of Word, Excel, saving files, just that kind of computer phobicness that might help them not enter into the workforce as easily. North Star Digital Literacy comes before another course that we've offered this term, which is the IC3. It's a computer certification that taking that particular certification is actually a prerequisite for one of the college courses and a pathway for a computer science And the You Got Class certificates, you'll see a whole page in our brochure. I just wanted to clarify kind of what those are. Folks pay for those courses, and sometimes other entities with the Department of Labor will actually help pay for those for people. But we get a percentage of all of the classes that enroll through us as a revenue stream to help fund other programming. So workforce is definitely a growing one. We are continuing to work on how can we help for the bus driving. We are already available and have helped at least one student with study skills and memorization skills for actually working through the material last year. And it wasn't, and it was really good to be able to break it down and help a student learn that technical material. And this page just highlights, I mean, these are some courses. So we developed last year a brand new course called Advising for the Future. We used a Google Classroom platform to manage it. We put a lot of different links and components into it, which included career search, resume development, and then each student needed to do a mock interview with me. I let them pick what the job was, and then I had to ad-lib whatever company they were. So they were really invested in the interview. And it was a really sweet spot that one of our students, after interviewing with me, he had the confidence to take his resume over to a Pratt Whitney open house, and he got a job. And so when he graduated, he knew he had a job, and it was really, really closing the loop on that one. And then brand new, Jen Marcus, who does have her master's in public health, fortunately works with us. She developed a health and safety elective, which included driving dynamics, which is a state program, Red Cross certification. And then she built in a curriculum using Google Classroom. And then the students had to do a capstone little project that actually looked at their career choice and looked at what would the health and safety issues be associated with their career choice. So we had posters that were looking at that. And then I kind of already went over the workforce ones. But in addition to the academic lab, we also had two students that were actually focused on ASVAB studying for the military, because the better one does with the ASVAB, the better, officer potential they might have. And also a student was able to study firefighter skills and get to firefighter 2 level, which he was able to become a paid firefighter once he got his high school diploma, and it was a really, really neat track for that student. So what are you curious about? Questions?
I guess I just have a question. How are these students, like, how do they come to you, or is there sort of any graduating students here that are sort of fed sort of the track to you, or how does that work?
I'd say they come to us in a variety of ways. They come because maybe the brochure landed at a family member's table, and they go, well, maybe you'd like to go learn this or go get certified in this. So
Okay.
they might come that way.
Okay.
They might come as a result of a counselor from the high school wanting to have a student explore whether transitioning to adult ed makes sense for that student. We also know that we have some students that are out there that are potentially homeschooled or are in virtual academies that may find that they desire to come in and demonstrate their skills through the HiSET program in those 5 tests. Some schools require that they have a accredited high school diploma and need a diploma in order to get federal funding for things. So we do have students that work their way to us that way.
Okay.
I would say most of our students come with very unique circumstances, and one of the things they benefit from is a very individualized learning plan for most of them, because the class sizes are very small.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Linda, just to be clear, the community education and enrichment, that's all self-funded? That's all?
Oh, it is all self-funded, yes. Very important to highlight that. So what we do with those is we actually have to look at what is the instructor needing to be paid, what are the material fees, what's reasonable in the market, and then if a course doesn't have enough students to run, we end up canceling it. And we hate to do that. So we try to really run classes that we know will be successful. And we're glad this year that a few of the favorites like yoga and the Tai Chi class has been going. They're back. Yoga's back this term, and COVID, they discontinued during COVID. But those have to be self-funding, and if we do make money on those, it's been tough to do in the last 2 years. But if we do, then they help to supplement the other programs.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Yes, thank
I'm
you.
going to just offer one more, because it relates to how we actually do, when you look at our education. So we've had with HiSET 100% test pass rate, and that's just something that you don't see in the statistics across. And we actually have increased another measurement for the HiSET, which is the College and Career Readiness Standards. So in other words, the college sees it, they know that this student is college ready, and they don't need to take any other courses. In FY21, we were at 56.8%, and we jumped up to 75.5% last year. So that's been a focus of really working on the academics and actually helping our students to see the value in taking more time to learn before they test. And so that's been one. And we also experienced for Marshwood, measurable skill gains have increased over the last 2 years. And we are the highest college and career readiness for Hub 9, the York County. So really proud of that. Really proud of what our teachers and our students have been able to do. And for this community to support them well. Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. It's unbelievable to me how much there is going on here. I'm like, oh, I want to take that. Oh, shoot, I missed it. It already
Ukulele,
happened.
grab
I'm like,
mine.
wait, is it going to come back?
Register online.
Can
Yeah,
I just ask one thing? If like a community member is interested in, say, teaching soap making or something like that,
Yes, call us.
are you okay?
Yeah.
You are looking for people
Always looking.
Okay.
Yep, Jen's always looking. I think she tries by
I'm not a
putting a
soap maker,
Facebook
but-
post out there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, always.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we actually made it into the Great Works Land Trust brochure that just hit the mail. On the back, it says that there's a hike. So
Yeah.
we're listed as being one of the locations that's doing a hike. It's a
Great.
really exciting time.
And you
Really
even
is.
have
Thank you.
trips. I mean, there's travel.
Okay, so the
Quebec
trips, just to
City.
be clear,
Okay.
we're not gonna lose money on the trips because we just help to advertise them. And if we get enough adult ed folks to go on that trip, then we're gonna have the travel agent do special tours
Yeah.
in it. But I can't do whole bus trips anymore. I paid out so many checks in 2005. I can't do those right now.
That looks like so much fun, though.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Number 3 on my agenda is I was reached out to by Rich Buzzle sharing with me that during a recent booster meeting, there seemed to be some desire to have a discussion about eventually having a turf field at Marshwood High School. And Rich kind of reached out to me and said, John, what's the next step? And so what I thought would make logical sense was to bring it to the board and talk to the board a little bit about how would you like us to proceed? Would you like us to form a committee to start kind of gathering information? Would you like us to put it on the back burner? I didn't want momentum to start before you had an opportunity to kind of get your thoughts around it. Turf fields, some people think they're the greatest thing. Other people have concerns about them. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Financially, there's a lot of work that would need to be done. We'd have to come up with a financial plan. But I think there is some momentum. One of the things that came up during and I believe it was girls lacrosse. I may be wrong, but I believe it was girls lacrosse. But one of the people mentioned that in 1998, when they were doing the building committee to build the new high school, Having a turf field was one of the original things that was talked about here, and that kind of, as they kind of had to reduce things, as the project got bigger and bigger, that was one of those things that kind of got pushed aside, and they said it was going to be taken care of over the next time, and it's been 22 years later, and it's still not there. I think, frankly, part of the reason why this is coming up now is that we had some water issues at the high school this year where we weren't able to water the fields like we have in the past, and so they were looking pretty rough in early August when it was in that drought. So I think that obviously probably raised some levels of concerns. And I will say that from a playing perspective, it's a very much different game. Some sports are drastically impacted by the surface that you play on, and so it's really difficult to hold a true field hockey field level where the grass needs to be so short, and so playing field hockey on grass and playing field hockey on turf are two very, very different games. And so I think there's some concerns or some questions raised about that as well. So I wanted to open it up to the board to get your thoughts.
In terms of competitiveness, because other schools have turf?
I think it's a different game. It's a much faster game. And so I do think it depends. If you play a team that plays on turf all the time, play on grass, and it slows the game down, that may help you, may hurt you. I think it just changes the dynamic of the game.
It's a great opportunity. I think I've been approached about this topic a couple of times over the last 2 years I've served, and I think that there's grant funding out there, if I remember correctly from what people have been telling me, and I want to say it's Hannaford, right?
Hannaford did, I believe, Cape Elizabeth's field.
Yeah, they did more than one apparently. Yeah. So I think that if we can secure a grant for this, I think it's a no-brainer, because not only is it going to save on other resources and maintenance, it's going to open up doors to other maintenance, I'm sure, but it also gives us that competitive edge, and just to have something like that available to the community. I know that a lot of teams use Berwick Academy fields. You played pickup field hockey over in Portsmouth, but that takes coordination and efforts and time away from other things we could be doing. But if the funding is out there, then why not?
So I'd want to hear some more. I think it's probably worthwhile kicking off a study. Many of you probably know that as recently as last week, the city of Boston banned turf fields in any of their athletic facilities anywhere in the city. Concerns about the fact that they're still using waste rubber that has carcinogens in it to make the turf. The process includes introduction of PFAS chemicals, which we've just spent a bunch of money getting rid of in our well water in at least one of our schools. So there's downsides as well, right? Having said that, I went to the girls' soccer game yesterday at the Sanford High School, and that facility is magnificent. It's gorgeous. It's the most amazing looking athletic facility I've ever been to. And so I'm very much of two minds on this topic. So to Heather's point, the cost of installation, and maybe something can be done there with grant money. But I would certainly want to look at all, I would want this board to look at all of the aspects of this question. Are there health concerns? It's a different set of injuries that athletes get on turf than they get on grass. Not to say that there are more or less, I don't know, but there are different injuries. So I think if we're to consider this, we ought to have I know everybody's busy, but we ought to have a decent amount of data available to us before we plunge in. That's my opinion, and I invite you all to.
Yeah, I didn't know about PFAS.
Yeah, and this was just last week.
I don't think this would be a quick process. This isn't the type of thing where you throw together a meeting and all of a sudden we're going to have it for next year. Like I don't think that this is that type of thing. I think we have to really get our ducks in a row. If there is grant money out there, we may need to look at our district policies, because there's been a history around advertising, and we have some district advertising policies. And so certainly the board can change those. That's the purview of the board. But I think there would be some steps. Coconut fiber was one of the things that had kind of come up as replacing the rubber, the rubber. And so there's some options. I think Portsmouth went through this similar conversation about 1.5 years ago, roughly. So I just didn't want this to all of a sudden momentum start to build before you understood what was happening and kind of what was out there. So, Any other thoughts?
We should learn more.
I'm so excited to learn more. Yeah. Good stuff.
I would say, from a personal opinion, short of field hockey, I think the teams that probably would benefit most from this would probably be the spring sports, ironically enough, because it would give those teams in March a place to practice, where that really becomes an issue.
In
Yeah.
mid-season.
You know, where
That's right.
that's what,
Point.
you know, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of a curve. You don't
Yeah.
think of it that way,
Yeah.
but it really is, you know, baseball, softball, you know, lacrosse, like there's an opportunity rather than being in parking lots and those types of things, so
Yeah,
that might be an
correct.
opportunity, so just some
true.
stuff to think about.
Yeah.
Not leaning one way or another, but just as I was kind of thinking it
Sure.
through.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and also thinking of like the Vaughn Woods, or the Vaughn grant funds,
oh, yeah,
because
the
it's an
Vaughn
outdoor
grant. Yep.
activity too, so
Yeah.
we could tap into that too,
Yeah.
possibly. But yeah, geez, you brought up some good points
Yeah.
there, Joe. I didn't even
Well,
know
it-
about these things.
It's not, I don't think it's a slam dunk. I think it takes some careful thought, and I
Yeah.
think we should have the data in front of us before we decide.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I will talk to Mr. Buzzell and kind of talk about the next steps. I'll probably report back in a month or so, just to kind of
Okay.
give you an update as to where we are.
Yeah.
You know, I think obviously when we get to that point, I think we also want to do a financial analysis of what that looks like. And then be able to kind of make a decision and find out, you know, really what energy is out there for this.
Absolutely.
The one thing I just want to be careful of is that when people think about like Scarborough's fields are owned by the town, and so the recreation departments run those fields, and those are recreation department fields. Whereas the recreation departments or the youth soccer programs or what have you come in and they rent those fields from us to do that. So I just want to be careful that we don't put out a message to people that's going to be kind of come one, come all. Like there is a process that still goes through it. I just want, and not that we wouldn't work together, don't misunderstand me, but I think I just want to be clear. I don't want to give people this false idea that it's going to be, because there is a whole lot of other conversations that go along with that as well. So.
Okay.
And now I have a reputation for hating turf.
Yeah.
No,
no,
not at
I-
all.
No.
It's important.
So I wanted to share with you, I was reached out to by Wendy Anders, who is the representative from Sweetser. And so for those of you who aren't aware, Sweetser is a counseling service, amongst a lot of things that they do. But they actually work closely with the schools where we provide them an office space within our buildings, and it allows families to activate some counseling, social work services while kids are at school. So it kind of takes away that kind of that unintended bias where, you know, people may not have transportation or time, and so when we have kids there, we can do that, and it kind of creates the equitability for those types of things. Currently, we have that in each one of our schools. 2 years ago was the first time we ever added Sweetser services at Marshwood High School. That was awesome. Then we had a resignation, and so currently we are missing a social worker at the middle school and at the high school. So those positions are open. We're hoping hoping that Sweetser will fill those positions. And again, there's no budget money involved. This is all through insurances. But Wendy reached out to me and said there was a grant that she would like to apply for and wanted to see if we would be interested in doing that. And it's Project Aware. And I have I have a little bit of a write-up. We are looking to partner with Sweetser. It's about a $1.8 million grant over 4 years. We would be partnering with Marshall Noble and Kittery and really trying to look at kind of the encompassing services that we could do with Sweetser, particularly around social emotional learning, kind of incorporating those supports for students and families, also trying to get that level of social work or school counseling work that we need within those schools through a grant. I think part of that may be to be able to make those salaries a little bit more competitive so that we can, but Sweetser can attract people. It's going to be a long process, but it was an opportunity, and so we will see what happens, but I just want to make you aware of it.
Awesome. Nice.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then the state works in mysterious ways, I will just say it that way. So we had our meeting 2 weeks ago, and Kate brought in the 3D printed lobster and, frog, and talking about opportunities with computers. And then all of a sudden, literally the next day, kind of in state of Maine fashion, hey, here's these grants for these portable carts. Need to have it in by the 30th, which is like 10 days later. And if you're interested, please let us know. And so we hopped to.
Oh, yeah. Good for you.
And there's kind of 3 different pieces to the grants. We had some options. I just want to make sure I get my notes. Thanks. It's about $90,000 worth of equipment that we would be able to get through the state. It's called a computer cart sub-grant. And so we're going to be able to get basically 9 carts. and it's basically one for every 100 students. And there's 3 mobile lab choices. There is coding and hardware, which is kind of like the Lego piece, where we could use some Lego work in the classrooms and teach kids those skills. Programming and robotics, which is the Spiro program, and then there's virtual and augmented reality carts. And so we're going to get these carts, and then we met with teachers here at the middle school and at the high school, and just talked about what does this look like at the schools, how would this be beneficial with what we're currently doing with students. And so it's no cost to us, and so we're going to take this on for the year to see how we use that. And then if we want to go forward with that, there's going to be kind of a yearly subscription cost that we would have to pay to keep the information upgraded. So great opportunity, but I think we just are trying to find those opportunities to kind of branch off with these learning opportunities for students, but also do it in an economically wise way, which free is always great.
Did you say, and I missed it, what level this is addressing?
Initially, the thought was it was going to be middle school and high school, but I'm
Okay.
not sure. There may be, with the Lego piece, there may be some Great Work School piece
Okay.
as well, and so we'll see kind of the appropriateness of it once the curriculum
Okay.
gets in. We haven't had a chance to really dive into the curriculum too much, and so we're trying to, we kind of have the established robotics program at the middle school, so that's one part, and the maker space at the high school, and so that kind of goes hand in hand, and so then we'll see where it kind of goes from there. I think
Okay.
Grace Jacobs years ago used to do the really nice work with the robotics, and Keith Barron had the robotics club prior to the pandemic, and so some things we want to try to incorporate.
Great.
Any questions?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. We need to get Kate to bring in a turf sample to the next meeting. Maybe
Yeah.
Get us a grant, I don't know.
Before I go to the student report, I just wanted to add one more thing, and this is something that kind of comes up every couple of years, and I want to thank Vicki for bringing it up to my attention that this came up on social media over the weekend. And it came up during the primaries in June. And so there's questions about, like, what's the school's role in elections? And so I think some questions are kind of put up that, why is the school letting campaign signs for individual candidates allowed on school grounds? And so I just want to be really clear that we do not allow campaign signs on school grounds. That is our rule. And that makes sense when you think about someone like Great Work School. It kind of, hey, it makes sense. But when you get to the middle school, it creates a little bit of a different situation, and I want to share this with you. We did a math problem this week, basically. And so what you have to do is you have to measure from the center of the road. And although we own, like, we think we mow the grass, we don't necessarily own the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is kind of a swath that kind of goes along the front of that school that is town property. And absolutely, people want to put signs on that town property. That's a town issue. We handle that. Talking to Wendy Roski, for instance, if they put those signs up, there should be a name and a phone number on those signs. So if we had to move them, we would do that. And so sometimes election time can get spirited. And so what I wanted to do was just provide as much clarity as I could. So I asked our custodial crew to kind of go out in front of the school. We've put some stakes out in front of the school, and we've kind of put down some white lines to kind of signify kind of where the line is at Marshall Middle School. So if you want to put a sign up, put it on the roadside to that line, totally fine. That's up to you. That's certainly the right, and that would be up to the town to determine the appropriateness of that. If it's on the other side of that, we would not allow that. And so that goes, just so for clarity, because I think it gets confusing, particularly at the middle school when they think they see a sign on green grass, which assume is our lawn, so therefore we're allowing one candidate and not having another. We are not getting in that business. The other thing that's really kind of awkward is that, and I'm glad that we've moved more towards not having school on election day, because there's some different rules once we open up our schools for elections. And so we, to a certain extent, by kind of state statute, stop becoming a school at that point. We become an election site. And there's different rules for an election site that I might have, the other 364 days a year. And so what the rules say is that there can be no campaigning, people holding signs or those types of things inside of 250 feet. And so there were some questions, was that violated this past spring? And I think really, frankly, it never really crossed my radar. It never kind of happened, but I think people just kind of, with all the best intentions, I don't think anybody was trying to do anything wrong, just kind of crept up the side lawn at Marshall Middle School. And so again, what we've done is we put some wooden stakes out. We're going to put paint down and saying, please, if you're here for the election, if you want to support a candidate, this is the area that you want to do that in. Anything closer would not be allowed. And so just so that we're all clear, I'm just trying to get ahead of it a little bit. we all believe strongly in democratic process. I want to make sure that we're doing our part to provide clarity. I don't want ever there to be a feeling like that we're supporting one thing over another thing. And so we're just trying to be very, very fair and balanced. So we'd rather just get ahead of it now rather than waiting to the last minute and then, oh my gosh, it's election day, what do we do?
Yep. Right.
So that's what we've done. So and if you get questions about that, please feel free to answer. And if we were to see a sign on our side, we would call the sign and say, look, this can't be here. I mean, that's just, please come up and pick it up. I spoke to one person and just said, look, and it couldn't have been any nicer. Really, and just, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, and just, I said, well, would it be okay if we just moved your sign to the other side of the line, just, so it saves you a trip coming up here, and we can just take care of it? Absolutely, thank you so much. So very, very respectful, very good conversation, just we're all trying to work together, but just want to make sure everybody knows the rules going into the election cycle.
Sure. Smart.
Any questions about that at all?
Just one, with regard to the electioneering on election day, is it not the town's responsibility to make sure that that's not happening at the polling place?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it gets really strange.
Yeah.
And so I think rather than playing
Sure.
this game, I think we're just going to say, here's 250 feet, we've measured it,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
going to
sure.
outline it, let's
Yep.
let's be very clear. Because what happens is that I hate having to explain ourselves when we're doing the right thing, and when it gets confusing, right? And
Yeah.
so like in this case, let's just do it ahead of time, let's be very clear what we're doing, people
Yep.
know. This is why it's the way it's going to be, and then that way it takes the pressure off, and so I don't have to have a conversation with Wendy saying they were at 240 feet rather than 260 feet. I think that's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah,
I'm just
for
gonna
sure,
provide the
for
clarity.
sure. Yeah, no, makes sense.
And trying to
Agree.
work with Wendy, and Wendy's fantastic, and so I
Good.
think she and Tony had some good conversations this week as well, just around like, do you measure from the front door, do you measure from the back door?
Right.
So you measure from the front door
Right.
because the thought process is that people haven't voted at that time, so the 250 feet before they walk out is different than the 250 feet after they walk out. Okay, great. Just tell me the rules, and that's what we'll do. So that's what we did.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Fantastic. Student report.
All right, I'll start with the sports report. So the volleyball team had some tough losses against Falmouth, Wyndham, Scarborough, and Deering. These past weeks, they were all very close matches, but unfortunately they did not take the win. The Marshall boys soccer defeated Massabesic 9-0 along with Kennebunk 3-1 and were able to keep the streak going by beating undefeated South Portland 1-0 this past Friday, and the boys played Sanford today at 4. Girls soccer defeated Massabesic 11-1, Kennebunk 6-1, and South Portland 4-0 last week. The team had a tough loss against Scarborough this past Saturday, but were able to play a great game against Sanford on Tuesday and take home the win 3-2. Marshwood Field Hockey defeated Portland 3-0 last Monday. The team played great games against Scarborough and Thornton Academy. They both went into double overtime, but they lost 2-1 for both of those games. Varsity golf team took home 6 wins, 2 ties, and 2 losses this past week, and the cross-country team competed in the 21st Annual Maine Cross Country Festival of Champions in Belfast. The girls team came in 4th out of 55, and the boys came in 19th out of 59. And the boys football team beat Bonnie Eagle 21-20 this past Friday. On to the student government report. The mural committee in student government is making great progress. They had a meeting with Miss Paula Quinn, the art teacher, this week about getting up some murals quite soon, and specifically in the pod areas throughout the high school. At this past student government meeting, communication was brought up as something in the school that could be improved. It was brought up that schedules were hard to find, like schedule changes, information about sporting events, and communication troubles surrounding homecoming, and our Rollinsford students were lost in translation at some points throughout the year. So talk about improving the app, and a new technological and communicative committee was created in student government to hopefully
I love that. That's
try and
awesome.
improve those.
It's great.
The student government has started planning for Hawk Blocks during the month of November, and they're going for the theme of giving thanks. So we'll have a report more on that next time. And the executive board will be meeting with Mr. Hoogterp at 1 p.m. next Tuesday to check in and hopefully get jump started on some of this.
All right, and on to some extracurriculars and a theme month little update since it's only the 5th. But Civil Rights Team has begun working on several projects. The Day of Welcome, designed to be a day that promotes the Civil Rights Team and its values. Members are working on designing a new welcome banner to be suspended in the lobby. Miss England has some ins with a art company, and it's not going to be like the paper one. It's actually going to be like very nice material. We just have to design it first. Day of welcome is November 4th. To promote a safe environment, several CRT members are working on presentations to deliver to the departments on their department meetings, which happen on Thursday mornings. This will happen in November. It's a sort of way to teach skills that keep everyone comfortable when something uncomfortable happens, like the use of slurs in the classroom, and the proper way to deal with that. They're starting the October bulletin board, and one topic they'll cover is LGBTQ+ history. The GSA is currently working on meeting with administration and soon the school board to suggest adjustments to the transgender policies. Peer tutors met today and outlined the schedule for the rest of semester 1. Tutors are now readily available in the Student Success Center, which is right here. Quiz Bowl has come back with Mr. Scontras leading the charge. He took a group of students to Gold Academy last Saturday. They came in 5th out of 8. Since more seniors have signed up recently, including myself, we will begin getting ready to apply to the quiz show, which happens in the winter. And for an update regarding Mr. Gratian and band, our Exploring Music class is performing for one of the Great Works music classes tomorrow morning. We'll be performing an African drumming piece that we've spent the last 2 weeks working on. Marshwood is also hosting a home band show on the 15th at 5 p.m. And lastly, October is Anti-Bullying Month. Since it's only the 5th, not much has happened yet to promote this. However, advisors have shown some videos in the past few days during homeroom. They all discuss good deeds and the importance of being kind. And I believe that will continue for the rest of the month. That is all.
Very cool.
I know I say this all the time, I just want to say it again,
Yep.
just because this is, the content can get confusing, but CRT is our civil rights team. That is not a curriculum that's out in the, so they just want to be very, very clear that
Yes.
those are very different things, so.
Civil
Yeah.
rights team.
Yeah.
Not cathode ray tube?
Yeah.
And what is a home band?
Oh, home band meet, like it's
Oh.
gonna happen here.
Oh, home band meet. Got it. I'm like, I'm thinking like
I may
home
have said
band.
home band.
Like, oh, it's gonna be a home band show. Wow. Home band meet. That makes sense. That's excellent. Here, got it.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you both as well. We have had no correspondence upon which to report, so we'll move into the report of the committees. Finance and Facilities will next meet on the 19th of October, which is 2 weeks from today, and we'll have a report out on that at our next meeting. Ed Policy met on September 28th, and among other things, we have some policies on our new business tonight, so I presume that that was part of what you all did. Anybody want to report out on that meeting otherwise, or?
I will.
Please, thank you.
Yep. So we spent a good amount of that meeting sort of just having some general discussion about some policies that are sort of on the horizon for the year. So policies that are upcoming related to law changes or things that we just have identified that need a closer look just within the district. And so just sort of some general discussion about why those might be on the horizon and coming down the pike. And then for tonight, we're bringing one policy forward for first reading and two to rescind. And we can get into the details
okay.
of those when we get there.
Great.
That's
Thank you.
about it. Yep.
Okay. And then thirdly, Wellness SEL met earlier this evening.
Yeah, so the main topic today was brainstorming and planning an parent education evening around anxiety, the topic of anxiety, and how to support our students, in particular when there are very few services and resources available at this time. People are having a hard time finding resources. And so we had an amazing guest come and brainstorm this out with us, Stephen Quinlan, who is a psychotherapist and actually specializes in anxiety and working with kids. So we're so lucky to have him as a parent in our district. And we're hoping to organize this evening, which will involve both a presentation and a Q&A session with Mr. Quinlan, and then also as well, maybe a fair with some resources available for people to have a chance to walk around and learn about, and that will happen maybe the second week in
November.
November.
Yeah.
So something to look forward to, and we're hoping that as much of the community as possible will come to that. It's certainly a relevant topic, and I think it touches pretty much everybody. Yeah, it should be really informative.
Yep.
Do we think we have enough room in the gym? Is that where we're going to do it?
We haven't gotten that far.
I think we're working on it. I think
Yeah.
what we're trying to figure out is if we can get, maybe a couple of different representations from the different schools of some parent opportunities, maybe we talked about having, Choose to Be Healthy maybe being there and having Chartwell's there, and maybe Jerry might have the outdoor club, or, whatever may seem appropriate, or maybe we do a Komochi, booth, or what, just a couple of those things, and just really, part of it is to create community connections for families, to kind of bring families into our buildings again, and then kind of with the keynote being Stephen with his message.
Very
So,
cool.
we haven't got to the details really yet.
I know, it's going to happen very quickly.
Yeah.
We
I
also
imagine-
we also had a report from food service, and that was fun to hear all about the wonderful things that are going on. I actually didn't take a lot of notes, but there's was a harvest,
A couple like mood boost programs at the
Yeah.
elementary schools, and then, using local ingredients, and then a smoothie thing tomorrow at the high school.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
And a Harvest Day, where they
something
You celebrate apples like a.
Apples
so
is fun
like a
for the summer
seasonal
squad.
special
Yes.
food for the month, and then it's integrated into a recipe and highlighted. And,
Yeah.
yeah, which is really fun.
Cool.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you. That brings us to new business. The first item on our list is an application for fundraising. May I have a motion to approve that, please?
I move to approve the application for fundraising at school events from the Marshwood High School Volleyball Boosters and Parents as an annual fundraiser event for raising funds for breast cancer awareness with pink-themed food items and raffle sales.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jen. Okay.
So I think it's wonderful that they
Yeah.
brought the form forward, first of all.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
great,
Yes.
to follow the process.
Yeah.
I think what I would talk to Brett about would be, I don't think when we use our concession stand, I think that's not necessarily something I think where we need to consider that a fundraiser. That's kind of intuitive to
Given.
that's there. I think the
Yeah.
50-50 is definitely something that we want to bring forward, but I think this is a great opportunity. I just appreciate parents and students finding a cause and trying to support it and going through a process to do so. I think it's great.
Kudos to the soccer. I think the girls' soccer team did a little nod to the breast
Yeah, they
cancer
did.
awareness too. They wore all their pink. They had
Yeah.
pink socks and pink everything, and I hear it was a really great event. I actually got some pictures of that.
Okay, so this is planned to be done at an athletic event,
Yes,
Yeah.
at volleyball, yeah.
at which they would be doing refreshments anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Fantastic.
And that may be new to them. They may not have ever done refreshments before. Volleyball's a relatively new
Okay.
program, but typically, like when basketball does that or what have you, they would typically bring just the food sales forward.
I don't see any harm in approving it anyway, right?
No, I
Yeah,
think it's great.
It's not, yeah. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That looks like 5-0, yes, thank you.
And I love that they followed the process.
Yep.
That's great.
Yes. Very good. Okay, next up is that policy about which we spoke a few moments ago. May I have a motion, please, to approve GBN?
I move to approve the first reading and discussion of policy GBN, family and medical leave.
Second.
Yep, that was Rebecca. Thank you. Okay, anybody from that committee want to talk about the changes?
I think this was before my time, Jen.
This, we are going with the MSMA version, and it's an updated version. So the next two are to rescind the next two because they are included now in this
Okay.
policy GBN.
Jen, do you mind if I add one thing in?
Please do.
So currently, there's a threshold of hours that must be worked in order to activate family medical leave. In the state of Maine, has changed the law now for school employees, where it used to be, I think, 1,250 hours, and now it's being reduced to 900 hours. So this is really to get us in line with Maine expectations, so.
Good, okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That's 5-0, thank you. May I have a motion, please, with regarding GBN-R1?
I move we approve to rescind policy GBN-R1, Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, administrative procedure.
Second, Heather.
Heather, thank you. So the policy we just approved replaces this. That's correct. It's good that we have that in place first before we rescind this.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That is 5-0, thank you. And last on the list, a motion, please, with regard to the rescinding of GBN-R2.
I move to approve to rescind policy GBN R2, main family medical leave administrative procedure.
I'll second, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. Same thing, right? Yes, okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. Okay.
Do you mind if I just add something about
Please,
the
go ahead.
policy work that we're doing?
Yes.
You may see some policies that you've seen a lot over the last couple of years, and so there's minor changes in the law around things, and so whenever, for instance, harassment and bullying policy will come forward again because there's been a minor change, so even if it's just, a category or, a key component, we would want to make that change right away, so those kind of policies go right to the front of the list for us.
Sure, of course.
So we're not just treading water, there's a reason why we're bringing these policies forward, so.
Yep, for sure. Okay, thank you. That brings us to the building administrator's check-in, and it looks like we have the lower grades this evening. Who wishes to go first?
I just have a couple of things. One is we had our kickoff for our Monster Mile, our only fundraiser with our PTO last Friday. So it was just really neat. Finally, we're back all together. We have assemblies every Friday in the gym again. So we had the Marshwood cheerleaders and the Hawk came. So it was super exciting for the kids. And it was just really, really fun to see all the excitement. So they've already raised $7,000, I think, at this point. So and it goes all the way until our actual Monster Mile on the end of the month. So just thank you to our PTO. They're working so hard. Every day come in and change the monsters, and the kids just love watching the monsters grow on the bulletin board when we walk in. So they just do such a great job. Second thing, just last year, I think we had Ernie Woods come and talk to us about mentoring to the wellness team. And it's just really neat. Today was his first day back mentoring in Mrs. Arbello's classroom. So he hasn't been back since 2019. So it's just really neat. And the funniest stories, Mrs. Arbello was getting everybody really excited to have him come and explain that he worked in the district for a long time, that he announces the basketball games, and that he actually served in a war. And one little girl said, "Did he survive?" And then the other little boy next to him said, "Well, he's coming in an hour, so I hope so." So just really neat to see him back, and he's so excited. So just, again, all that theme of normalcy that is just great to see at our school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. So I went to my first Elliott Festival Day Parade.
Excellent.
And it was great. It was such an opportunity to visit with families and to meet, the moms and dads of the kids that we serve every day. So that was a real treat. We also had our ukulele players on a float, and they traveled up the road through the parade. They were wonderful. They were adorable. Kudos to Melissa Gamache for leading that, and Bailey Goss for supporting that. Donna Whitman, who some of you know, is a third grade teacher. She was on the Dr. Seuss float, all dressed up. And so it was a ball. Fire safety and bus safety. We invited Elliott's Deputy Fire Chief Jason Cullen came in today and presented to our first, second, and third grade students after having hosted all of our pre-K and K kids over to the fire barn. It was great. He did an exceptional job explaining to the kids, answering their questions, and listening to their stories. So he was very patient and very informative. So that was great. Denise Frick, who works for the Transportation Department, represented the team at Elliott this morning and did a super job talking about behavioral expectations while students are riding on the bus. So important, just driving those messages home. So that's great, and today was the first day of the NWEA testing. Our third graders came well prepared. They'll do terrific, best that they can do, and so we were proud of them. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I could go on forever tonight with the, but I won't. But it's, I think the principals will tell you, if, the month of April, particularly May and June, is just nuts at school because there is just every single activity going on. That's happening at Great Works right now. It is just, we are just in full swing. The intramural program's going, the hiking group's going. Today the question was, it's rainy, are we gonna hike? And the kids are, yeah, we're gonna hike. We got a call from Scott Patch, so it's that connection with the high school. Scott will be bringing the whole kids back to be hiking with the kids. We got the music group coming down tomorrow. Addie Fuller, who's a senior this year, she contacted me last year, and she really is passionate about sustainability. And so I came and met with Addie last spring, because she wants to work with our kids. And so we've kind of come up with a plan of an intramural. And actually Alana Craffey, who's the GT person, she and Addie and I will work on having kids that are really interested in that. So I think in a couple of weeks, but this is kid driven. This is Addie, she has a passion about this, and so she wants to come and work with our kids. We're starting to spend the money of the REV grant. So I think we actually have not a signing, but there's a presentation tomorrow. But we couldn't spend any money until we got the okay, the contract and things. But we've had, the Brown Center was here with all our fourth graders this past week, and they spent an hour. We've got, I think, probably 5 sessions where they will come and work with us. And really, it's around team building. And we just thought that was really important. You're bringing kids from, just nutsy world the last couple of years. They're coming from 2 schools, and so they kind of created a contract. And these contracts were in my office, and it's kind of like the words the kids were going to live by. And one of the kids wrote, and again, this is in their words, and it was like integrity. And I mean, for a 4th grade, and then it says, do what's right when no one's looking. Wow. And I just thought, oh my gosh. Yeah. And so these contracts the kids make are up in the classroom, and so we're to really, as the staff, we're really to, as something goes on in class or whatever, it's like to be able to look at the contract they made. So we're really excited about this. Again, eventually we will be going to UNH and the ropes course with the kids, but it just, I'm really excited to see, in May what this looks like. But I think we're really offering the kids a great opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.
I got others, but I'm just going to go.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone on the board before we adjourn?
Can I just mention one thing? LA Festival Days, Peter mentioned, I just really want to give a shout out to our cross-country team. They went down and supported the road race.
Oh,
And had
nice.
a bunch of kids go down, which was really neat. So just great community building. I think that, the Elliott group certainly appreciated it, and they just really appreciate Matt taking the time with his team to go down and do that. Just visit
That's
there
great.
as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Speaking of Addie, there's only 3 of us. It's Addie, Mitchell Volchek, and I on the Sustainability Club, and we're doing a beach cleanup at 2 p.m. at Long Sands on Sunday with Mr. Johnson, if any of you want to come. It's open invite, pizza afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Well
There's
then.
food involved. I have to look at my schedule. That's amazing.
That's great.
That's great.
Good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you
I think
all.
you're up.
Oh, I move to adjourn the meeting tonight.
I second.
All in favor? 5-0.